We'll start with the prayers. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashe Makshabhiryajatraha Stirairangaihi Stuštuvagam Sastanobihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuho Swasti na Indro Vriddashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishvaveda Swasti nastakshorarishthanemihi Swasti no Brahaspatir Dadato Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We have taken up Mandukya Upanishad for our study. We have finished 3 chapters. Today we will start the 4th and the final chapter. Before we start this Alatashanti-Prakarana chapter, I will give a small revision of the 3rd chapter, which we finished last week. The 3rd chapter is called as Advaita Prakaranam, consisting of 48 verses. This is the most important chapter amongst all the 4 chapters because this establishes Advaita philosophy. There are 3 philosophies: Dvaita philosophy, Advaita philosophy, and Visishta Advaita philosophy. These are the 3 primary philosophies based on which scholars have interpreted Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. What we are following here is Shankaracharya's Advaita philosophy. This philosophy has come to him from his guru, and his guru's guru has written a beautiful commentary on this Upanishad, which is Mandukya Upanishad. And it is his guru's guru, the grand guru, is called as Gaudapadacharya. Very, very important chapter to note that the entire universe which we experience is nothing else but an appearance in consciousness. This is the central message of this chapter. Shankaracharya, in his commentaries of all Upanishads, Brahma Sutra and the Bhagavad Gita, follows one methodology, which is Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. This is the fundamental basis on which he has written all the commentaries which we study in our spiritual program. In this Mandukya Upanishad also, he has kept the same methodology. In the 2nd chapter, we have seen that in the 1st chapter, it is Brahma Satyam. That means Turiyam, which he has revealed as the core of this universe, is Satyam. That Turiyam is nothing else but Brahman. 2nd chapter, Advaita Prakaranam, deals with Jagan Mithya and teaches us how to view this universe as an appearance. The 3rd chapter is Advaita Prakaranam. Here, the emphasis is purely on Jivaha is Brahma, Brahman. That means there is an identity between the individual Jiva, and the entire cosmos, which is represented by Ishvara. There is an identity. The nature of the individual is Turiya Atma. In the beginning of this Upanishad, it clearly said there are 4 quarters of the self. Whatever we call as the self of the individual, or the self of Ishvara, or the self of the entire Jagat, consists of 4 quarters. Vishwa, especially when we take the individual, we take and give names to the 4 quarters. The first quarter is named as Vishwa, the waker. That means the self which is dressed up as the individual in the waking state. That is called Vishwa. The same self in the dream state is called as Taijasa, the dreamer. So there is a waker, there is a dreamer, and there is a deep sleeper. The deep sleeper is given a name Prajna. Now these 3 states are very well known to all of us. They are 3 universal states which everybody experiences every day. So this Upanishad uses this particular aspect of our own experience and drives home the point that these 3 states which we experience are appearances in consciousness, which is the consciousness is called as turiyam, which is the 4th pada. The 3 states are already known, but what we do not know is the 4th pada, which is turiyam. Turiyam is nothing else but a consciousness principle. It is completely different than the waker, completely different than the dreamer, completely different than the sleeper. But even though it is different, it is in and through all the 3 states. It is inherent. At the same time, it is distinct from the 3. This inherent nature is what we generally call as immanent. And the distinct nature is what is called as transcendental. These are 2 words which we normally use in English to convey the meaning of what is Turiya. We must go through this line of study, this line of understanding, if we want to reach the core of our own personality, the real self. Now, this, in the very first mantra of the Upanishad, it clearly states this conscious being is limitless and it is timeless. Timeless means it is a totally different entity than what we normally experience in this universe. What we experience is in time, which is subject-object, which is a division of matter principle. But what is consciousness is timeless. Very important point. And then the second mantra says, I am Atma Brahma. This self in me is the self in the entire universe. We must remember this Mahavakyam of this Mandukya Upanishad whenever we want to know what is my core personality, which this Upanishad describes in the 7th mantra as Turiyam, as all-pervading consciousness. This all-pervading consciousness is Advaitam. The meaning of Advaita means it's non-dual. When we discuss the 4 padas, we must remember one very important factor which Gaudapada Acharya has brought about, and the Upanishad in the 6th mantra also talks about the same. What it says is, among the 4 padas, three padas are coming in time, where there is karanam and there is karyam. So in time you have karanam and karyam. And when whatever is beyond karyam and karanam is beyond time. This is how we should understand what is timeless. We do not have a definition of timeless, but this is where we have an indication of what is timeless. Through this analysis, we should be able, our mind should be able to go towards that core of our personality. It is Adhyatma Vidya. It is not outside, it is inside us. Inside, outside is with reference to the body. It is not with reference to the core, the substratum, which is consciousness. So, the karyam effect is Vishwa and Taijasa. The waking and dream is an effect in time. The cause of this is the prajna state, which is the sleep state. And what is turiyam? Turiyam is beyond karya and karanam. Very, very important point. All these points which I'm telling you are extremely important if you want to realize your Atma. Very important steps. These are the fundamentals of the third chapter. So the first three padas are Karya and Karanam. The fourth pada is differentiated from all the three padas. And that is what is described in the seventh mantra, na anta prajnam, na bahish prajnam. So it uses the methodology of neti neti. Not this, not this, not this. The truth is generally described in the Upanishads as not this. What is this truth is only what the three words which we know about this truth is Satyam, Sat, Chit, Ananda. It is pure existence, pure consciousness, and pure bliss. These are the three words which the Upanishads have used, which are direct. But there are hundreds of indirect words which are neti neti. Most of the Upanishads, they follow the neti neti style of revealing the nature of Atma. So here, turiyam is karya karana vilakshana. Very, very important. Vilakshana means it is not in time, but it is beyond time. It is beyond this karyam and karana. In the world, you will find for everything there is a seed. If you take a tree, a banyan tree, there is a seed. Huge tree, there is a seed. Similarly, for everything in the universe, there is you can go to the core and say this flower, this fruit has come from this. We are born from our parents are born from their parents. So you can go on in this cycle and say there was a parent, there were a pair of parents, and then from there the entire human beings came out. So that is all in time it's possible. But the moment it comes beyond time, there is no karyam and karanam. They both merge together and they remain as karya karana vilakshanam turiyam. Very beautiful way of describing what is turiyam. It is neither karanam, neither karyam, but it is karya karya vilakshanam. And that is what is the nature of this self. So turiyam is neither a product or neither it is a cause. Cause and effect do not exist in turiyam. Turiyam is a karanam. That means it is not a cause of anything. It is Advaita Chaitanyam. Pure consciousness, pure existence. That is the only way we can talk about this nature of ours. So this is all the background information on which the whole third chapter it comes about. And what is the relationship? This is where the third chapter specializes in. What is the relationship between the material universe and this Turiya? What this chapter says is universe is not a product of Turiya. It is not born out of turiyam, but this universe is a projection. Turiyam is akaranam. That means it is not a cause for anything, therefore it remains by itself. At the same time, universe it is not an independent entity. It is not born, but it is an appearance like a dream. Can we say a dream is a created thing? No. Dream is an appearance. Very important point. What is appearance and what originates as creation? You must know the difference. This difference is taken up and in this Upanishad itself, it's called as Ajati Vada. Ajati means unborn. So there are two things. Eternally there is consciousness, eternally there is a material universe. But does it mean it is Dvaitam? No, it is not Dvaitam, it is not two. What Upanishad says here is, there is Advaitam. What is the meaning of Advaitam? This universe which we experience does not exist independently. That is the meaning of Advaita. Very important point to go and understand what is the core self, which is Turiyam. So in Turiyam, in consciousness, there is an appearance of this waking world. There is an appearance of the deep sleep world. There is an appearance of the dream world. The three experiences which all of us have are all superimposed on this consciousness. So the world which we experience is not a product, but it is a superimposition. It is just like a magic show. Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari. You know, in Dakshinamurti we have seen that how the universe is like, it's like a magic show created by the Maya Shakti. So it is an eternal appearance. It is a non-stop eternal appearance on Chaitanya. And this universe is, in Mandukya Upanishad, it clearly says it is Nama, Rupa, and function. Name, form, and function. So these three together is what is called as the universe. And this name and form comes about in three ways. In Sthula Prapancha, that means in gross form. In Sukshma Prapancha, in the dream state. Gross state in the waking state. Sthulam, Sukshmam in the dream state. And the Karana Prapancha in the causal state, which is the sleep state. It is the same Turiyam which appears as these three. There are three appearances, and all these appearances, because it is an appearance, we say it is mithya. Mithya means it is appearing, but it is not factually there. Now, this point, if you understand, a lot of our problems will get solved because our problems are all situated in the Sukshma Shariram, which is the mind. So consciousness by itself is called as Turiyam. Consciousness with the Upadhi, with the medium of the three Prapanchas or the three Sharirams, is called as Virat, Hiranyagarbha, Antaryami at the cosmic level, or Vishwa, Taijasa, and Prajna at the individual level. All the drama of life happens at the Nama Rupa level, which is Vyavaharika Satyam, another word for Mithya. But the substratum on which all this is appearing, the light in which all this is seen, is this Turiya. We should note this fact in order to be free from our identifications with the three bodies. I am the Turiya Atma, unaffected by any event in all the three mediums of experiences. I am Nitya Muktaha. I'm ever free. That is the message, the central message of the 48 verses of this third chapter, Advaita Prakaranam. This chapter occupies a very central position in the entire Vedantic literature of Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, and Brahma Sutra. So scholars who want to know Advaitam, they come straight to this chapter to study what is Advaita. How does the scriptures, how does the commentators, they say, look, studying the Upanishads, they come out with this type of analysis, Mimamsa, by which they say this is the way to understand the Upanishads, this is the way to understand our real self. If we understand this particular chapter, number 3 of Mandukya Upanishad, we will understand our true nature. We are free here and now. This is how the overall chapter is presented. And the first 30 verses, which is the main portion, talks about this Ajati Brahman. That means unborn, uncreated. Jiva is not born. Jiva means that pure consciousness. And the world is also not born. It is a projection. It is an appearance only. So it is a theory of non-origination. And there are 4 parts of this analysis. First, Gaudapadacharya says that the jiva is not created, and he takes this from the reasoning part. This is from verse number 1 to 9 in the 3rd chapter. Then in one verse he says that the universe is not born from this Turiya. It is an appearance. Like dream appears for a waker. A waker, when he looks back at his experience, he says, oh, I had a dream yesterday. So similarly, from Turiyam point, a person, a jnani, when he looks at it from the Turiyam angle, from the free, pure consciousness angle, he will say, this waking world is an appearance in me, the consciousness. Because he has learned to segregate the consciousness from the 3 states of the mind through the analysis of this universe. Then it gives in these verses, the first 30 verses, the Gaudapadacharya gives the Shruti Pramanam for Srishti Nisheda. That means for the negation of the universe, he gives certain mantras from the Upanishads, like Neha Nanasti Kinchana. For he says that the jiva is also, there are certain verses which talks about the jiva not being created and the universe also not being created. Like the space, one space, it appears as many spaces. Similarly, this consciousness is one. It appears many when it is enclosed in many bodies and many minds. So Ghata Akasha, the pot space is many in different pots, but the space is only one. Space is not born. What is born is the outside wall of a pot. Similarly, consciousness is not born. It is the jiva's body which gets born. In that body, consciousness appears. This is how we should understand how enclosure is called as upadhi, and there are seeming changes in the upadhi. That means there is birth of the body, there is death of the body, there is travel for the body. All these are all upadhi dharmas. They are not the dharma of consciousness. So this is how we should understand that the jiva is not born, but the body is born. Jiva here means consciousness. And the space is probably the best example for us to understand this upadhi and the attributes of upadhi. Then Gaudapada negates the birth of the universe from the example of dream, Swapana example. He says, like the dream is a creation, is not a creation, but it is an appearance. The whole dream world just appears. It is a power. There is a power of Nidra Shakti, which throws out the dream for us. Similarly, there is a Maya power which throws this entire Jagat for us. It's a projection. It's a projection of the ignorance. Now, in the case of dream, it is the ignorance of the waker. In the case of waking, it is the ignorance of Turiya Atma. This is how we should understand that the entire projection of the universe comes about because of ignorance that I am the Turiya Atma. You may have a question, what if I come to know that I am the Turiya Atma, a jnani? Will he also experience this world? Yes, he will experience this world as long as he is got this body. The prarabdha karma of his determines his body, existence of his body. So he will also experience the world, but then in the core of his personality, he will know the very fact that this whole experience of this Jagat is like a dream, because he has got the full knowledge of the Mandukya Upanishad, which tells him clearly that this is a projected world, it is not a factual world. It is projected out of a Shakti, a power, Maya Shakti, which is basically power in the whole creation. This is how we understand, and there are many mantras in the Upanishads. Initially, suppose you take Taittiriya Upanishad, it starts with the thing of creation. Many Upanishads, they start because the Upanishads wants to come down to our level of understanding that we are all, it is compassionate to our current level. We are all thinking that we are born and the universe is existing for us forever. So the Upanishad starts from Yatova imani bhutani jayante or etasma jayate pranaha. All those are all creation mantras. But this is not the ultimate teaching. The ultimate teaching is Abheda. Jiva Ishvara Abheda is the final teaching. In the end, the Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, for example, negates the creation. Nehana nasti kinchana. So all this Mahabhakyas, Tattvamasi, I am Atma Brahma, Prajnanam Brahma, they are all teaching us the oneness of the Ishvara and Jiva. In the end of the Upanishads, they all talk about, as I said, the negation of the universe. One of the famous mantras is Na Bhumi Rapo Na Chavanne Asti. That's also another very famous mantra. Gita versus Ajoditya Shashvato Ayam Puranaha Na Anyate Anyamane Sharire. These are all verses. If you recall these verses, you will remember the same teaching that Jiva is not born, body is born. This is what Lord Krishna taught to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. If you take the gist of the Bhagavad Gita, it is the gist of this Mandukya Upanishad, that you are not born as a Jiva. You are the pure consciousness. For consciousness, there is no birth. It is ever there. And I should learn about it now while being in this waking state, that is the ultimate message of the Bhagavad Gita as well as Upanishads. And in all this, one important point we should understand is that the world doesn't have an independent existence. It has a dependent existence on this turiyam, on this. Without the consciousness, there is no world. If we understand this particular point, then turiyam is satyam will be very clear. Satyam means independently existing. I exist in my sleep state. I bring this point very often in my talks, that how do I exist? As turiyam, as an independently existing pure consciousness principle. So in this turiyam, neither there is world, na bhumi rapo kaivalya Upanishad, there is no punyam, there is no papam, nirvana shatkam mantras, all that you apply to turiya state. Everything will click. Whatever Shankaracharya has written, if you follow this methodology of Turiya Atma, you will understand all the mantras of Upanishads very, very clearly. That is the power of this chapter. Advaita Prakaranam is a very powerful chapter. It is the core of the Upanishadic teaching. It is the core of the Bhagavad Gita teaching. If you have any questions on this Prakaranam, please write to me. I can discuss with you over phone. Many people have called me also several times, those who listen to these talks after I send the videos. But this is an important aspect. If you understand this, then the entire spiritual study becomes very easy. See, that is the beauty of these 12 mantras of this Upanishad. They tell us the essence of this whole spiritual study in just 12 verses. And very, very simply, it talks to us from our own anubhava point of view. This turiyam is the adhishtanam. The three states are all the appearances. They are superimposition. Superimposition is an adhyasa. Adhyasa means it is an error of understanding. It is just that we don't know that I am the consciousness. And therefore, I identify with my body as me and my mind as me. Samsara is caused only because of these two problems. Identification that they are me. They are not appearances, they are real me. But with Jnanam, what happens is the real me becomes consciousness, the appearance becomes this body, mind, universe, experiences, all our experiences. Yesterday, this morning, whatever experiences you had, it is just an appearance. Last month, last week, last year, last decade, all this is just an appearance. It came, it went, it came, it went. Is this study also an appearance? Yes. The Upanishads is very, very clear. Guru, Shastram, Ishvara, all these are just appearances, but this appearance negates our mistake of taking the body as real, taking the body as me, taking everything as existing. Whereas what it says is turiyam is the only thing which exists. In the beginning, like in the Bhagavad Gita, it clearly says, don't confuse the people. Let people come through karma yoga, upasana yoga, bhakti yoga. Let them all come through the Dvaitam. And then finally, let them understand the real nature of the personality, the core of our being. There's one thing which I wanted to share with you is there are two words. One is being, another is thinking or doing. We all confuse that we are doing something. All our life, we feel that we are doing, and that is my real personality. In many advanced texts, Adhyasa Bhashyam, in Yoga Vasishta, for example, this particular point is explained. Remember, we are not, our nature is pure being. Pure Sat. I exist is the first thing we should know. And that is that consciousness. That Sat is conscious. Chit. Sat is Chit. Existence is consciousness. Consciousness is bliss. This is the core of our being. If you understand the core, then you say, okay, I am a doer, I'm a walker, I'm a singer, I'm a writer, I'm a hearer, I'm a sleeper, I'm a waker. All that is superimposition. On what? On this pure being. So this also is very beautifully brought about in the Bhagavad Gita, the verse which you remember, Pralapan, Visrajan, Unmishan, Nimishan, Napi, that verse of the Bhagavad Gita. So all the vyavaharas which we do is nothing, it is all doing. And in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is very clearly, Lord Krishna says, all the doing is from 5 factors. And they are all material in nature. They do not exist by themselves. They depend on Atman. The substratum for this entire creation is turiyam Brahma. So with that, it was a very long summary I did. I never thought it's going to take so long, but anyway, I will now enter into the notes of the 4th chapter. Agama Prakaranam was 12 mantras in the 1st chapter. This I have already discussed, Vaitatya of the 2nd chapter, Advaita of the 3rd chapter. Turiyam, the main points you should note is it is a higher order of reality. Like the waker and dreamer, turiyam and the waker. So that is the way it is absolute in nature. It is higher, it is satyam. And it is different than this body and mind. And it is at the core of our personality. Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Yoman. That verse of the Taittiriya Upanishad, if you see here, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam. It is in us. It is in the core of our own personality. That is the supreme Brahman. That is the supreme consciousness. You don't have to search anywhere. This is why it is called as Adhyatma Yoga. Adi Bhuta, Adi Yagna, both they all merge into Adhyatmam. The whole universe is only three: Adhyatma, Adi Bhuta, Adi Deva. Adi Deva is initially we start praying to that Ishvara. But ultimately, Adi Deva and the Jiva, they merge in Adhyatma. Adi Bhuta, the Jiva comes to know that the body is made up of Bhutas, 5 elements. And for the Bhuta, for the 5 elements, Atma, the pure consciousness, is the substratum. That is what is Turiya. And the observed world is a lower order. See, we should be able to bring this core point of this Mandukya, higher order, lower order. These are all words we are using, but it should all sink in our own minds. Once it sinks into our mind, then this becomes very interesting to understand the Mithyatva. Mithya only means it is an appearance in consciousness. We don't count Satyam and Mithya as two, because Satyam, in Satyam, Mithya is existing. Drishya Prapancha is in the Drik, the observer. The observer is the ultimate reality. That is why this chapter is called, the third chapter is called as Advaita. See, with my introduction, all this becomes very easy to understand. Why Advaitam? What is the meaning of Advaitam? Advaitam only means that the world has no independent reality without me, the consciousness. And there are no two consciousnesses, there is only one consciousness in the entire universe. Like the space, there is only one space. Wherever you go, you will say, yes, there is space here. Sat. In Sat, space comes. In that Sat-Chit, space comes and goes. But Sat-Chit is the ultimate, which is beyond the space. Why does this knowledge of Turiyam liberates us? Because Satyam is free from anything from the Mithya world. Mithya world cannot touch the Satya Atma. Like the dreamer, anything happening in the dream cannot affect the waker. Anything happening in the movie cannot affect the screen. The screen remains. If there is a fire in the movie, or there is a tsunami in the movie, it does not affect the screen. You off the movie, the screen remains the same. Similarly, all our experiences are all happening in the mind of each one of us. This mind is a very, very powerful instrument we have. Very powerful. Sukham, Dukkham, everything, Raga, Dvesha, all this is in the mind only. And this mind is superimposed on the Atma. Mind by itself is inert. It is inert in nature. It is anatma. But this is superimposed. Therefore, Atma is said to be Satyam and Anatma is Mithya. So Turiyam, physical body, the world can affect, but not the Turiya Atma. Achedyoyam, Adahyoyam, Akledyoshushacha, Nityam Sarvagatastanhu, Achaloyam Sanatanaha. This is a beautiful verse of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The self is not cut, it is not burnt, and now you will understand why. Because it is Turiya. See, when we study the Bhagavad Gita, we don't really have so much knowledge of the Upanishads. But after having the Upanishads knowledge and you study the Bhagavad Gita, it becomes beautiful. because we understand the Bhagavad Gita much better now. Because we see that is why it is a systematic study. The whole spiritual study is a very, very systematic study. You study the Tattva Boda, you study the Atma Boda, you study Drigdrishya Viveka, you study Bhagavad Gita, then you study the Upanishad, then you study the Brahma Sutra. After Brahma Sutra, you do Vichara Sagara, Shruti Sara Samudranam. All these are texts which are all higher texts. And when you do the higher text, what happens is that other text becomes easy. So the discovery of our own asangatvam nature, which is unaffected, is the knowledge which liberates me. I am the turiyam Atma, which is not connected, but it is required for the world to appear. Without the rope, there cannot be a rope snake. Without the adhishtanam Atma Turiyam, there cannot be the three states of consciousness, which are all attributes of the mind. They're all superimposed on the Atma. We have to go through the choiceless situations as per our prarabdha karma, but it will not affect me because of this knowledge. When I have this knowledge, it is called as Jivan Mukti. Jivan Mukti means I have understood that the attributes of Dukkham is nothing else, but it is a superimposition. It has no real factual existence. I light up the candle of this knowledge and remove the darkness in which I have been living throughout my life. Not only this life, previous so many hundreds of life, because the knowledge of Turiya Atma, it is only an understanding. There is nothing else. Beyond understanding, they say there is nothing else in Upanishads. Understand the meaning of Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaivana Paraha. So having this bhava means it is just a feeling that I am this Turiyam Atma. That is the essence of Aham Satyam Jagan Mithya. And with that, the third chapter is over. Now we enter the fourth chapter. The purpose of the fourth chapter is to negate other systems of Dvaitam, Visishta Advaitam. That is the main purpose. Now these are very, very strong philosophies. Dvaitam is a strong philosophy. Visishta Advaitam is a very strong philosophy. Buddha is a strong philosophy. They're all strong philosophies. They're all scholars. They're all brilliant in their expositions of these Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. But Shankaracharya's final explanation of them is that this Advaitam can lead to moksha, whereas Dvaitam cannot lead to moksha. This chapter 4 has got 100 verses. There are 5 topics. I've broken them into 5 topics. Introduction, negation of the dualistic philosophy. The third topic is Vedantic teaching. What is this Vedantic teaching? Once again, it comes and reinforces that. And then what are the disciplines like bhakti? What are the other disciplines? Yoga. All these are all ancillary aids for purifying the mind. That is from 55 to 90. The last 10 verses are just a conclusion of the entire Upanishad. The first 10 mantras, the author prostrates to Adi Guru Narayana. Because you see, ultimately this knowledge is coming to us from the God himself, one who's created this entire universe. And this knowledge is called as asparsha yoga. And why is this called asparsha yoga? Means it doesn't touch me. Asparsham, sparsham is touch. Asparsha means it doesn't touch. It doesn't touch the Turiya Atma. The teaching. What does it mean? That this entire world doesn't touch me, the Turiya Atma. That is why it is called as asparsha yoga. Atma is by nature, Atma is asangaha. What is the meaning of nature? You cannot change that. Your nature, my nature is asangaha, as consciousness. And that is eternally there. You see, the problem is we always are used to seeing something changing. The world is changing rapidly. The three states are changing. But what we have never noticed is the unchanging factor. That unchanging factor is consciousness. That is what the Upanishad reveals to us as Turiya. And that consciousness is existing by itself, like the waker exists by himself. The dreamer and the sleeper, they come and go, but the waker is constant. Because you have taken the body, with reference to the body, you say, I am the waking person eternally. All my 60, 70 years, I've just been, my waking state is real. The dream and sleep states are coming and going in me. What the Upanishad takes us is, it takes us to a higher level. It says that don't think that the body itself is your reality. There is consciousness, awareness principle, which is the final reality. With reference to that consciousness, you can say that the body of the waking state, the mind which experiences the entire universe, is a lower order of reality. The glory of this teaching is, it is beyond any debate with reference to all other philosophies. See, Shankaracharya accepts all the philosophies, Nyaya, Yoga, Vaiseshika, Purvamamsa. He says everything is fine, but they are all stepping stones. They all are ultimately, they all will have to come to Advaita Vedanta for moksha. This is a very popular mantra, na nirodho na chotpatti, baddho na cha sadakaha, na mumukshur na vai muktaha, ityesha paramarthatha. Very, very beautiful, very important. Shankara quotes this, many other acharyas, they quote this mantra very often. What it means is that in the vision of consciousness, Turiya Atma, in that vision, there is no sadhaka, there is no guru, there is no muktaha, there is no baddha purusha. It alone is. From that point of, from the supreme truth point of view, from the sun point of view, there is no day or night. With reference to earth, there is day and night. With reference to the body, there is three states. But with reference to consciousness, there is only consciousness alone. That is why we say it is the brilliant light of consciousness, which is this chit principle. And it is ever there. Anytime you wake up in the middle of the night also, you will say, I am Sat and Chit. I exist, I am conscious. Everything else comes after that. That is what is called as the being. I told you that you should discriminate between being and doing. If the doing comes after the being, after the existent being. Gaudapadacharya says this creation is nothing but a confusion because of ignorance of the Turiya Atma. He explains from this in the second topic of this chapter, he negates the Sankhya system, Dvaita system. He negates Bauddhas, three systems. What does Sankhya say? Sankhya is a philosophy very, very popular in the old times of Shankaracharya. It said that matter is pradhanam. Matter is the primary thing, and consciousness appears in matter. That was the theory which they propagated. Prakriti or matter is the cause of the entire creation, not consciousness. And Shankaracharya quotes this beautiful verse of Taittiriya Upanishad to Sankhya and says, look at this mantra and tell me, where is this matter coming? There is no matter mentioned here. There is only Brahman, there is only consciousness, which the Shruti says from which the whole universe comes. This is a Taittiriya Upanishad, very beautiful mantra. Yato va imani bhutani jayante, ena jatani jivanti. That from which these beings are born, that which they are existing, and they continue to exist. And when they leave, where do they go? They go back to the same consciousness. That is what was taught to Bhrigu by his guru Varunadeva. So this is how we should understand consciousness is the ultimate in creation, not matter, which Sankhya philosophers, they took it as the truth. Then Shankaracharya also says, Gaudapadacharya says, it is anubhava virodha. Matter is not pradhanam. Matter is not the main cause of creation. Prakriti is beginningless cause is anubhava virodha. Anubhava virodha means what? Seed and tree have a beginning. Child is born out of parents. Parents are also a beginning. So Prakriti is dependent on something. That is what that is how we say that it is dependent on something. Like you have a child dependent on its parents, Prakriti depends on something, because in my deep sleep state, I don't experience Prakriti at all. I am pure consciousness is all our experience. I independently exist. Any cause is subject to change, that is yukti pramanam. You see, Gaudapadacharya uses anubhava prakaranam, pramanam, anubhava pramanam, shruti pramanam, yukti pramanam. He uses all these three to defeat nyaya and says that Prakriti is not the ultimate cause of creation, it is turiyam. In turiyam, all this come and go. And in Prakriti, there is always change. Change means perishable. 6 modifications are there. Asti, jayate, vardate, viparinamate, apakshyate, vinashyati. These are all we have learned in Tattva Bodha. Matter is always a changing principle, but not conscious. All of us, we have the experience that there is something in me which is not changed over all my years of experiences. What is that? That is the Turiya Atma. That is the pure consciousness. That is what is revealed here. Yatova imani bhutani. That verse here reveals that consciousness. That means all our the doing aspect depends on the being. Being is the ultimate nature. Advaita Darshanam, this slide we'll take up next week. Next week, we'll try and complete this chapter and also Mandukya Upanishad. I will see if there is anything else I would like to do next week. The following week, we will start a new text, which is Panchadasi, the 10th chapter. That's what will be our next text for study. That means the following, not next week. Next week will be the, today is the 1st, the next will be the 8th, and next Wednesday is 8th, so 15th. So 15th of September, we will start Panchadasi, 10th chapter. And it's a very beautiful chapter. It goes along in similar lines as this Mandukya Upanishad. It reveals the nature of consciousness. That is the beauty of that chapter. That's why I thought it's a good addition. I have not decided what will be the program after that Panchadasi. In case you do have any ideas or you have any text which you would like me to take up, or if there is some interest in among many of us, let me know. We'll see how next week I'll try and complete Mandukya Upanishad. If you have any questions on Mandukya itself, please have it cleared next week. And after that, we'll take up Panchadasi. Okay, so that's for today. And Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yeah, does anybody have a question?
Not really.
Yeah, Chandra?
So, I'm just wondering, how is it that we have to concentrate in the conscious period, or in when you are not at all bothered by other factors? Like a lot of disturbance comes in sometimes, then you find you are breaking up your meditation.
Yeah, see, when disturbances come to you, at that time you can't think about consciousness and so on. See, are you talking during the meditation, or is it during the vyavahara, during the transaction?
No, during meditation, other thoughts start coming in very fast.
Okay, that is a very common thing. You see, other thoughts coming is a very common thing, and the only way what you have to do at that stage is just again chant Om and say that I am the awareness. That's all. The thoughts are coming, don't get involved with the thoughts. You just say, I am a witness of the thoughts, then the thoughts will go away. Suppose a thought of something comes and then you start joining. That means as awareness, if I join the thoughts, then the problem is the thoughts will continue. You know, it will keep on continuing without your being aware that you have already joined the thoughts.
I'm not joining the thoughts, but it is flashing all the time. I'm not joining.
Let it come. Let it come. You see, I'll tell you why they come. See, the reason why these thoughts are always coming is because of prarabdha karma.
Oh.
You see, the karma is expressing as karma phalam. The karma phalam is these thoughts.
But we can't do anything about it.
You cannot do anything. This is prakriti. This is nature. Nobody can do anything with these thoughts. This is what is given to us. It is attached to this body. You cannot do anything.
So just observe it only.
Observe it, yes. See, the only thing the Upanishad teaches you is it tells you that you are only an observing principle. You're not the thoughts.
Oh.
And the thoughts will come. Whether it is, you're the prime minister, whether you are, you are the rich, whether you're poor, whether you are male, whether you're female, whether you are born in India, born in Japan, born in any part, thoughts will be there.
Oh, I see.
Everybody will have thoughts, and not 1 minute, continuously. The moment you start looking inside, see, this is why we say that when you start looking inside your mind, it is exactly like a movie screen. You see, like you see outside a TV screen, there is a hero, there is a heroine, there is a catastrophe, there is there's so many things which happen in a movie. The same thing happens when you start looking inside. So
a lot of rubbish is coming out.
Absolute rubbish. Absolute. It's completely. That is why it has got no rules. It's got absolutely. This is why it's called as Maya. You cannot have any explanation why I'm having these thoughts.
Never thought of it. I never thought of it, but it comes.
Yes. Yes. How do dreams come? Dreams, do you ever willfully dream? Never.
We cannot do that.
You cannot say tonight I'm going to dream having Tirupati Darshanam, You will never have it. You see, you can never have. You can say, today I'm going to dream about Switzerland, I'm sitting at the top of a mountain, snow-covered mountain. You will never dream.
Yeah, not a choice.
Yeah, because that is the nature of the mind.
But in a way, it is our vasanas are also being absorbed off, isn't it?
Yes. You see, the vasanas are getting completely nullified when you start watching the thoughts.
Okay.
You see, what happens is you are getting rid of, you are eliminating those vasanas.
Yeah, the remnants.
Yeah, these are all remnants of your vasanas and they get eliminated. But
I'm not agitated. I'm not agitated. In the sense, I say, why is it you don't allow me to meditate?
Yes. You see, they will come and disturb us. This is very natural. But the moment you keep observing again and again, and you keep the distance, what will happen is, after some time, you will find that you're able to be very, very calm and cheerful in spite of the thoughts being there.
Okay. Yeah, not affected.
Not at all affected. You see, this is the prasada. This is the ultimate benefit of meditation. When you come out of the meditation, you will feel, oh, I feel very peaceful.
Right.
After chanting Vishnu Sahasranamam, you feel peaceful. Right. Because that is the prasada you get out of chanting.
Right.
The peace of mind you get after chanting any prayer, or you go and stand in front of God in the temple. The prasada, the real prasada you get is the peace of mind. When you come out of the temple, you feel, oh my God, I feel very peaceful.
But I feel that But I feel that when I see the thoughts, I'm observer. I feel I'm an observer, not anything else.
That's correct. You see, the moment you come out of meditation and you ask the question, hey, wasn't there somebody observing these thoughts? That is the question you should ask.
Yeah, right.
And what is that which was observing the thoughts in meditation? And that is called as turiyam.
Oh, okay. Okay, so the thoughts is no bearing at all.
Absolutely nothing. Thoughts are thoughts. They will just come and disturb you. Sometimes the thoughts will be very peaceful. These are all the tricks of the mind.
Okay, okay.
Don't fall for the tricks of the mind. Suddenly one day it will tell you, you are a very peaceful person. Then another day it will tell you, you have done so many rubbish things in life, and it will tell you you are an angry person, you are a jealous person, you are a poor person, so it will tell you all negativities. Right. So don't get carried away, neither by the good, neither by the bad. Just say, I am the observer. This is what is called as samatvam. The Bhagavad Gita, again and again, it teaches us samatva buddhi. Right. And this is what is called as samatva buddhi. It comes only because of the knowledge of Turiya Atma. Oh. Without the knowledge of Turiya Atma, you cannot get samatva. You will see, there are only two things. Either you are an ego I, joined hands with the mind and going through the motion of the mind, or you are the observer of the mind. As observer, you are free. Yeah, right. As the ego I, you are sinking and you are already drowned. That is the difference.
Correct. Okay, good. By the teachings, it is actually purifying our mind also.
Yes.
The teachings will sink into you.
That's correct. This is what is called as purification.
Yeah, right.
And it takes time. It is not overnight.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It takes a long time to get this purification of the mind. Till that time, we have to continue our study.
True. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Chandra. Yeah, Ram Kumar, you have something? Okay, does anybody else have any other questions? Rohit, are you there?
Yes, Shagidyan.
Yeah,
no
Rohit,
questions.
Yeah, no questions, huh?
Yep.
So we have done almost 3 chapters over. We are coming to an end of the Upanishad again. So the next study is Panchadasi. We have never done that before. In our group study, we have never done Panchadasi. So we'll start that on the 15th of September.
15th of September.
Yeah, 15th. Next Wednesday will be the last class for Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad. And 26 verses are there in the 10th chapter of Panchadasi.
Of all the texts, this is the most difficult one to comprehend easily. Isn't it?
Which one?
This one, this Mandukya.
Yes.
Most difficult.
That's correct, yes. The Mandukya Upanishad is the most difficult because it teaches us directly with reference to our experience in life of waking, dream, and sleep, how to look at myself as turiyam. You see, that is the beauty of it. At the same time, this is the plus side of Mandukya Upanishad.
Yeah.
It takes the same as my experience every day.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the negative side is, how do I know that I am not the waker, I am not the dreamer, I am not the sleeper, but how do I stand myself as the turiyam? That is the challenge.
Right.
And for this challenge is this 2 chapters taken up. That is the second chapter, which is called as Advaita Prakaranam, and the 3rd chapter, which is called Advaita Prakaranam.
I did not get it.
Yeah, and you have to go through these chapters, to go through these notes, these videos. You have to go through this again and again till your mind gets completely tuned to the teaching. See, the obstacle in all of us is the mind. Sometimes we have a pure mind and we are able to understand clearly. Sometimes my mind itself creates a problem. How can this be? How can this be? You know, it starts throwing a lot of questions, a lot of doubts. And that is the time we have to say, okay, I need to clear up these doubts. You know, it'll go away sometime. But you have to be very patient. You have to just keep on listening.
Right.
That is the only way. Just keep on listening. Doesn't matter. It's like polishing your mind again and again with these thoughts. I am that pure consciousness. You see, that is why these meditation sessions, I go very deep into the core of the consciousness and try to reveal that nature.
Mr. Shekhar,
Yeah, Jacqueline?
would you please elaborate space? There's a space between there's a gap between the Om. There's a space between us, and there's a space, you know, among whatever that I'm in a home. The space is so huge, and is that space is equal to silent? I mean, is silent equal to the space also? The space.
Yeah, you're talking about the space outside and the space of silence, right?
In fact, I'm talking, yeah, I don't know, but I'm just saying that the space.
Yeah. You see,
Space
whenever I say there is a space inside between the 2 sounds, there is a space. What I mean is there is something which is called as silence. That silence is called as space. It is not physical in nature. It is not the physical space I'm talking about. The physical space is outside.
Yes. I mean, not the English space. The scripture space.
Yeah, the scriptural space is, yes. See, we are all pure beings. You know, when I say I am awareness, you should tell yourself in the meditation, you should tell your own mind, I am a pure being. You know, you should tell in your own mind, I am a pure being. I am a pure being. Okay. And then you should chant Om. And then see the difference between the pure being and the Om, the sound of Om. That is what is called as the space between the awareful being and the sound. In the awareful being, in the awareful consciousness, this sound is coming and going. The sound comes in what is called as chidabhasa. Chidabhasa means it is a reflected consciousness in the mind, which is the space between the sound and the reflected consciousness. There is a space. The space is not a physical space, but it can be construed by consciousness. There is a difference. That distance, that is why I'm saying there is a distance, means I am that conscious. You see, you don't have to do anything. You just have to say in meditation, I am the pure consciousness. In me, the sound Om is coming and going. I am going to observe that sound. That's all. You just say that and then you start chanting Om, stop. Again chant Om, stop. Keep on. This is a practice. Unless you practice it, after about a month, you will come to realize the space. It will not happen the first time you're chanting, second time you're chanting, but this is how you have to follow. So is it clear, Jacqueline?
Okay, appreciate. Yep, appreciate.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else has any other questions or any other remarks? Okay, if there are no other questions, we'll continue next week with our last session of Mandukya Upanishad. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Shekaji. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shekaji.
Thank you.